All right, students, in this review, we're going to go over the attributes of linear functions and how to find slope and rate of change. So in this first problem, number one, the question says to find the zero. Whenever you see the word zero, they're telling you x-intercept. It's just the math language that they're using now. Find the zero. They're telling you to find the x-intercept. So therefore, you just look at right here, this is your x-axis, and this is where the line crosses the x-axis, and you're going to answer the zero is 2. Then you have the question of find the x-intercept. So that's where you also still look at that point, but then now you have to write it as a ordered pair. So because they're asking for the x, they want the x value, so that means the y is a 0. So you're going to write 2, 0. For the next question, they're asking for the y-intercept. So now we're looking at the y-axis and seeing where the line crosses the y-axis, and that's right here at 3. And once again, you write it as a point. And because they're asking for the y-intercept, they don't know the y value, but they do know, or you know, that the x is a 0. So therefore, you have 0, 3 as your y-intercept. Then they ask you for the slope. The slope could be found in many ways. In a graph, we could do rise over run. We could also just look at 2 points and then find the difference of the y's. So y2 minus y1. And then over the difference of the x. x2 minus x1. So either do the formula or use the graph to do your rise over run ratio. You look for 2 points. We already have the x and y intercept. Let's use those 2 points. And we're going to notice that from one point to another, we're going to go down 3. So that's negative 3 as your rise. And then across 2, positive 2. And that's your run. Some of you were asking me of what if you go up? Will that still be negative? And the answer is yes, because if you go up 3, so it's positive 3. And then you go to the left 2. And by going to the left, that's your negative 2. So you actually have either negative 3 over 2 because of the down 3 and across 2, or you could also write it as positive 3 over negative 2 because of the up and then left. This simplifies to being a negative slope, and the rise over run ratio is 3 over 2. So that's your slope. All right, the last part is asking you to plot a point. Simply asking you to plot the point. So you need to remember that it's in order of x, comma, y. So starting at the origin, it's telling you to move to the x value of 4. So you're going to move to the right 4 spaces. And then from there, you move negative 3 on the y-axis. So you're going to go down 3 spaces. So that's the movement that we're going to have. We're going to start at the origin, move 4 to the right, and then down 3 spaces. And this is that point. So please be careful labeling or plotting points. So practice on your own doing number 2, applying these steps. Let's go over number 3 now. Number 3 gives you a real world scenario. Devin owes his parents money and he does weekly chores to earn money to pay them back. The graph models the relationship between Devin's debt and the number of weeks that he has completed with his chores. So right away you notice that this line is going up. So you have to understand what's happening here with the y values and why are they decreasing as this line is going up. And then why is the x values increasing and touching at 8? What does that mean? And that's the first question. The question is asking, what is the x-intercept? What does the x-intercept mean? So not only are you finding the x-intercept and saying that the x-intercept is 8, 0, but what does it mean? It means number of weeks, because we're talking about the x, 8 weeks. And then because this point is 8, 0, that means the y value is a 0, meaning the dollars, the money he was in debt, Devin's debt, is 0. So it took 8 weeks for Devin to pay off his debt, to be 0 in debt. All right, next one, what does the y-intercept mean? So we're going to look at the y-intercept right here and identify it. So that's negative 0, 60. And then what does that represent? Well, keep in mind that the x is weeks. So if it's 0 weeks, that's when it started before any chores were done. And that was the debt that he had. So we can assume that this is the amount he borrowed from his parents. So Devin had a $60 debt with his parents. All right, the next one is the rate of change. So I'm coloring it the same color I used over here for slope, just so you can make a connection there. Anytime they ask for rate of change, they're also asking for slope. And similar to what we did previously, we can use 2 points and do the rise over run ratio, or we could do the formula of the difference of the y's over the difference of the x. In this case, let's do rise over run again. So starting from this point, we're going to rise this much to get to this point. So how much was that rise? Well, we're at negative 60 and it went all the way to 0. There was a difference there of 60. And because it went up, it's positive. Now we're going to the right to get to this point. So up and then right. Right is also positive, and it's 8 spaces because that's where the x-intercept is. So we can say that our rise over run ratio here is 60 over 8. And this slope is not going to be found, or this rate of change is not going to be found unless it's the simplest form. So you can grab your calculator and just type 60 divided by 8 and get the simplest form, which is 15 over 2. So that is what the slope represents, but as far as rate of change, you got to describe what that means. So you look at what the top part means, 15, 15 what? And then trace yourself back that the 15 represents the rise. So the rise is the y values. This is a y value. We're going to look at the y values, and that's dollars. So this is $15. And then the 2 is the run, that's your left and right. So that's your x-axis, that's your number of weeks. So this is the weeks. If we turn this into a phrase, we can say that Devin pays $15 every 2 weeks. And just for practice, in case they have an answer choice of per week, just kind of do the math here. If it's $15 every 2 weeks, then half of that will be per week. So we can also say $7.50 per week. And also if you do 15 divided by 2 and you turn that into a decimal, it goes to 7.5. Next is write the equation of a line. So this one is new. This one is just putting, out of all the equations, we're going to look at y equals mx plus v. We haven't talked about the other ones much. So this is the easiest to write because we need an m value, which is a slope, and a b value, which is a y-intercept. And if I color coordinate this, we said that the slope is this blue part, and the y-intercept, it's the orange part that I have identified up here. So therefore, your y-intercept is negative 60, and your slope is 15 over 2, or 7.5. So we can have the equation look like y equals 15 over 2x minus 60. So that's one equation. If you turn this into decimal, you could also have y equals 7.5x minus 60. Both of these work. But all you need is your slope and y-intercept. Okay, so try this example on the right side, see if you can figure out those attributes. On the back, we have similar practice to this. The first, number 5, is asking you to look at this graph and find the rate of change. So again, rate of change is slope. And I'm going to color coordinate blue so you remember slope is blue in my notes. And to find slope, we can do rise over run from one point to another, or we can do the difference of the y's over the difference of the x. So we definitely need to look at 2 points regardless, whether you're doing rise over run or the formula. So definitely here we have the y-intercept, and I believe I've been coloring it orange. And then we have to identify another point on the line. It looks like right here at 596, it's an exact point. So we're going to use 0.84 and 596. We can look at it as the formula because that will be probably always the easiest method. 96 for your y value of the second point minus the y value of the first point over the x value of the second point minus the x value of the first point. So using your calculator, you can set up a division by control divide and just type 96 minus 84 over 5 minus 0. And it gives you the answer of 12 over 5. So this is the slope, but because it's rate of change, we have to interpret that in what it represents. So it goes back to looking at the top. The top is your y's, and the bottom is your x's. So 12 is the y, which is the temperature. So that's the temperature. And then 5 is the x, which is the hours. So what we can say here is that because it's a positive slope and the line's going up, we can say that the temperature increases 12 degrees Fahrenheit every 5 hours. So that would be the description in real world scenario of the slope, the rate of change. All right, next we have rate of change, but now given a table. So same thing, we just need 2 points to do the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In tables, we also emphasize that you could just find the difference of y values over the difference of x values. So x will be your lapse, y is your time. You just select 2 points. Some people like the whole numbers, so I'm going to select these whole numbers. And the y values is going to be 284, so the y value of the second point, minus the y value of the first point. And then the x value of the second point minus the x value of the first point. This is the process that you will do anyways to find the difference of the y's. So to ask yourself, how did the 71 become a 284? You have to find the difference between that. Here with the 2 and the 8, it's pretty easy. The 2 becomes an 8 by adding 6. And that's what you're going to get as a difference of x down here. 8 minus 2 is 6. 284 minus 71, you can use your calculator for that. Or you could just type the whole division the way we've been doing it. 284 minus 71 over 8 minus 2. So the answer came out to be 71 over 2. And it's probably because it was simplified. If I do 284 minus 71 only, I get 213. So if I do 213 divided by 6 to simplify this, I do get that slope of 71 over 2 that I had gotten if I had typed the whole thing. So it's up to you if you want to just type this, press enter and get your answer, or if you want to do one step at a time. So 71 divided by 2. This, you can explain what that means in terms of the scenario. So once again, the top values are your y's, that's your time. The bottom values are your x's, and that's your lapse. And we can assume that this means that you are either walking or running 71 seconds, or it takes 71 seconds, because unit is seconds, 71 seconds every 2 laps. Or we can say how much per lap. So you just turn this into a decimal, or divide 71 by 2 and turn that into a decimal. Sorry. 71 divided by 2. So it's 35.5. That means it takes 35.5 seconds per lap. So those two are the explanations for the scenario. Number 9 is asking you to write an equation. And again, we need the slope, the m, and the b, the y-intercept. So we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. From a graph, the y-intercept is super easy to find, just on the y-axis. What's that value? So we have a -6 for the y-intercept. For the slope, we do need to calculate that. So m is, again, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So we need to find 2 points. We have that point already, which is 0, -6. And if we look for another point, there's this point here too, and that's 4, 3. So we can use those points. We can do -6 minus 3 over 0 minus 4. Type that in the calculator. And we get 9 over 4. 9 over 4 is your slope. So now we're going to write y equals 9 over 4 x minus 6. This is your equation. Okay, let's try the last one. And again, you could be trying the ones on the right side, pause the video and then continue. Number 11 is a table, but we're still asked to write an equation in mx plus b form. So m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. And one thing to keep telling yourself about y-intercept is that you're looking for the y. So you know the x is a 0. And there you can find the y-intercept on the table if you have an x as a 0. So that's your y-intercept. Okay, so that's positive 12. Now we need to find the slope. Again, we could do the change of y over change of x, or the y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So you pick 2 points to look at. I'm just going to pick these 2 right here. And I'm going to do 24, so the y value of the second point minus the y value of the first point, over the x value of the second point minus the x value of the first point. We type that in the calculator. 24 minus 12 over 4 minus 0, and the answer is 3. So right here, the slope is 3, which means that all we have to do now is write the equation y equals, for the slope we put it 3x plus 12. This is the equation. All right, I hope this video helps you review for the test today.